How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we have another community questions video for you guys, but it should be quite interesting because we're kind of mixing it with a different style of video as well. So the question that I put up on my YouTube section for you guys to answer was, what are some niche use or uncommonly used but useful items? So we're going to go through a list of items through ones that you guys have given me, but items that are actually not used that much, not as common, things that maybe even I didn't know about as well, and then things that are also really useful to use. So there should be some interesting stuff in here. I'm quite excited to see if there's anything that I've been missing out on, which, going off what I'm normally like with the knowledge in this game, it probably is something, So hopefully you find something as well. If you do, then do leave a like on the video. Also, if you enjoy, leave a like, and also do subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. But anyway, guys, that's enough of the intro for once. Let's get going, shall we? Okay, so our first comment says, heated T Flask. It removes the effects of an aggression potion, so it can be good to keep on you during Slayer etc. When running through mobs you don't want to kill. Okay, so this is actually kind of cool because lately I've been doing quite a lot of farming at Turoths, and this is actually something that would be really useful because if you teleport out of there because you've forgotten something and you still have aggression potion active, which is usually me every single time that I go there, when you run back in, you actually end up getting attacked by something that drains your stats like down to 0 immediately. It's straight away. It's ridiculous, which means you can't use the shortcut for the agility path because your stats for your agility is too low, so you've got to run straight through the whole entire lot of them, which means that eventually your entire stats get dropped down to like absolutely nothing. So it isn't fun because sometimes I'll just sit at wars instead and I'll wait out my 3-minute timer or whatever's left on my potion, and then I'll go back because I just can't bother dealing with that. So in that situation, this would be incredibly useful. So thank you. I didn't actually know about this. For anyone wondering how to get their hands on one of these, you can buy it off the Grand Exchange, or you can get it as a reward from a master clue by the look of it. So pretty easy to get. It's about 1.5 mil, I believe, on the Grand Exchange. That's not too bad. I might actually get one of those myself. Next up, we have the Vampiric Blood Essence from River of Blood quest. It's like Vamp Scrimshaw, but only heals 2.5% instead of 5%. I use it where Scrimshaws or armor spikes are not needed, mostly for Slayer or ED trash runs. This is really cool. I didn't actually know that this was a thing either. But I mean, let's be honest, it's a quest reward, so there's no chance that I probably would have known it existed, which is why it's cool for you guys to get involved in these. So basically, after looking up this on the wiki, it's something you do get, like he said, from finishing the quest, the River of Blood, and you combine it with 100 congealed blood and a 4-dose super Zamorak potion. And then once you've done that, you can recharge it with just the congealed blood itself. So you can use that on the essence to charge it back up, and it does have 1,000 charges when it's made, and you can charge it to a max of 5,000 charges. Now what it does is once it's worn, it has a passive effect of 2.5%, meaning that it doesn't actually just have a timer. It doesn't just go away when you have it equipped. It's only as you're using it. So if you are sort of just walking around with it, it won't lose any charge, but when you enter combat with melee only, it will start using that up and losing charge that way, which is kind of cool. It makes it kind of easier to manage than a Scrimshaw, having to turn it off and on. But then as an extra, every minute you can activate it, and then in the next 20 seconds, whatever melee hit you use will heal you for 25% of the damage dealt to a max of 2.5k. You can get, every 1 minute, you can get a 2,500 health heal from this if you hit high enough. 25% of your damage dealt. That seems pretty good. That must be good. Surely to hell. That is really good. The way the charges work is each time you get the effect, so 1 heal equals 1 charge from the passive effect, meaning you can get up to 5,000 heals, but at the same time each active effect consumes 50 charges, so you'd have to keep that in mind for cost effectiveness. But I'm fairly sure congealed blood is actually not all that expensive. It's looking about 91 GP on the Grand Exchange according to the wiki, so it is super cheap to charge this, and you actually do get a decent amount of healing from it if you are using the active. I think this is actually a really good idea to use this in certain places where you would like to use the Vamp Scrimshaw, but you don't want to pay for it. Keep in mind though, this is melee only, so otherwise this is a super useful item. I like this a lot. Our next comment says, Primal Feast, expensive but an awesome way to have high healing stackable food on the actual Switchscape meta. So the Primal Feast is something that a lot of people probably know about, but I know there will be some people here that don't actually know what they are. So the Primal Feast will give you 10,000 life points per inventory slot, which is obviously a lot. How it works is you will keep it in your inventory as just one item, as the Primal Feast, and then when you unpack it, it actually turns into 4 Primal Portions. The Primal Portions give you 2.5k healing each, which means that you actually only use one inventory slot when you enter a boss to be able to bring along 4 different pieces of food that heal you 2,500 each. So it's really useful for saving inventory space. You will need 3 empty inventory slots to be able to unpack them though. So what I would probably do myself is have like 3 sailfish, and then once you've eaten those sailfish, you'll be able to unpack the Primal Feast into those slots. The only downside to these really is how much they cost. They are super expensive to make, as you do need to buy the 3 pieces to actually make it from the Grand Exchange, or make those pieces yourself, which include a lot of different things to make it with. And it is called the Primal Starter, the Primal Main Course, and the Primal Dessert. But the total price just on the Grand Exchange, it says equals around about 173k, but I've got a feeling it'll be even more than that, to be fair, just to be able to make it. So the Primal Feast is definitely expensive to make, but at the same time it is super useful for certain situations. If you're learning a boss and you don't have like the food inventory space, you want to bring it along, then you could definitely use this instead. Next up, we have Adrenaline Urn. Can be useful if one doesn't have Persistent Rage. So this is actually something that a lot of people do know about, and I know that it's not the most uncommon item, but actually I wanted to include it because, one, I get asked about my Adrenaline Urn I don't know how many times on stream. Like, so many times on stream, people come in and they'll say, what's that purple thing in your inventory? And I'll have to explain what Adrenaline Urn is, which is fine. But if people don't know about it, then hell, they probably should know about it. Because if you don't have the Persistent Rage Relic, like this person is saying, then it is super useful to have. And I do not have the Persistent Rage Relic, of course, as I do use an Adrenaline Urn. And I love it. It is so freaking useful. So what it does is you can charge it up to 1000% Adrenaline at the Adrenaline Crystals in War's Retreat. And by doing that, it will hold that 1000% adrenaline in there for when your adrenaline wants to drain when you are out of combat. So if you fill your adrenaline to 100% as well, and then you have your urn with you, you activate the urn. And then when your adrenaline drops because you've left combat, rather than yours draining, the urn drains first. So you have 1000 adrenaline to go through before yours does the same. Now this is really useful in some situations where, say like elite dungeons, you want to run from the bank back to the dungeon. 1, 9 times out of 10 you will not have to recharge your adrenaline because you might teleport out on 100% anyway. And 2, anytime that you have sort of stood around waiting for anyone who's banking a little bit slower maybe, which isn't a problem, but then that's not there yet, you don't have to be stalling. You can just chill out. You can just wait for them. You're absolutely fine. Your adrenaline urn has your back, and it's just a nice quality of life item. To get an adrenaline urn, you're going to have to kill Calgarian demons, and it is a super rare drop from them. Like, it is really, really rare. But Calgarian demons can be AFK'd, I do believe, so you could AFK them for that. But you can also get them from the ones that are inside the Shadow Reef as well. So if you do ED3 runs and you don't have one of these yet, as you pass those Calgarian demons, you could actually kill a couple of those off, and maybe you get one from there as well. But I'd say the best way to get it would probably be going to the actual Calgarian demon dungeon and killing them in there. But you could definitely get one from there. And I think if you don't have the Persistent Rage Relic, this is 100% worth getting. It is so nice. I love using it. It's probably one of my favorite items for having on presets. So our next comment is from Grammar, and you say, I love to use the Blessed Flask during PVM, where you don't need the special move points from Spiritual Prayer Potions, and especially during Slayer. Saves a lot of inventory space and is cheaper to maintain after the initial crafting. So this is actually kind of something that I've learned about recently. I didn't even know this was a thing until maybe like a couple of weeks ago, so maybe a lot of people won't as well. But basically the Blessed Flask can hold 80 doses of Extreme Prayer Potion, meaning you can have one inventory slot carrying 20 Extreme Prayer Potions in one slot. Like that's insane. So it is super useful for saving inventory space, absolutely. But the requirements to get this are super high. It is difficult to get, and I believe it does take a long time to craft it as well. But basically, looking at the wiki now, it says that it requires level 118 herb lore, which can be boosted, but you do also need 96 crafting. So not only that, apparently it takes a long time to make it. The initial crafting as well can be quite expensive, as the actual flask shell is over 100 mil, and then the other supplies and stuff I do believe makes it around about 110 mil, according to the wiki anyway. Prices will likely be different from the wiki, but I can't test every single price specifically on this, so that is what we do have to go off. But this is a pretty cool item. I do actually really like this, and if you do have the funds and the time to make one, then it's probably going to be worth doing. If you do quite a lot of Slayer, if you do quite a lot of anywhere that you don't want to use Spiritual Prayer Potions, to be fair, because you can save a lot of inventory space from this, and hell, why not? The next comment says, Super Gothic rests are something I don't see used very often because of the niche uses, but they can be quite useful for some players, especially for those with low herb lore, since it's tradable. They act as food that heals 650 per dose, which is 2,600 or 3900 HP per inventory space. It cures poison and also restores some adrenaline. So I knew these were a thing, but I didn't know that they cured poison, and I didn't know that it also gave you that 15% adrenaline. So I've just looked up in the wiki, and you do get 15% adrenaline from your first dose. Now it will put your adrenaline potion on cooldown for the exact same amount of time as if you drank adrenaline potion. I believe it's 2 minutes, but like he said here, it's good for people with low herb lore levels since you won't already have adrenaline potions. These are tradable, adrenaline potions are not, so it would be useful for the lower level people as well. But also in situations where maybe you don't need adrenaline potions, these are pretty damn useful as well. They're definitely something to keep in mind, as it is quite a lot of health per dose, and they actually don't cost anywhere near as much as a Cinnamon Brews as well. So I bought a Super Gothic Rest for 15k insta-bought, and I also bought a Cinnamon Brew insta-bought as well. These are both 4 doses, and that was 24k, so there's almost a 10k difference between that. There's 9,000 gold difference between it. Of course the Cinnamon Brew will do slightly more healing, but these potions may actually be something that is worth taking a look at and considering in certain places where you're using them. I'd say Slayer's probably a decent place, seeing as you don't need to use adrenaline potions, and like I said, for people who don't have adrenaline potions yet, this can still give you a 15% boost on your first drink, so something to consider. Well, we are going to make that our last item, guys. I hope that you've found something out of this that is quite interesting and quite useful to yourself. Maybe you've got a little bit of something to add to your presets now, or maybe you're going to think about taking something else to some other places. There's been some pretty interesting stuff in here for me. I really didn't have a clue about the vampiric blood essence. That was absolutely crazy to me. I think that's going to be such a good item to consider if you ever use melee. Like, I don't use melee whatsoever, but if I do one day, I actually might unlock this just for like doing Slayer and stuff if I ever do melee with Slayer, because it seems so cheap to use as well. The congealed blood is so damn cheap, and it's like literally 40 coins for 10 charges, so I don't really think you can complain too much about that. But that is definitely an item I had no idea about, so that's pretty cool. Thank you for that one. Also, like the heated T Flask, I'm going to be getting one of those right now. As soon as I finish this video, I'm going to the Grand Exchange. I'm going to buy one and add that to my farming preset. Absolutely. But yeah, guys, thank you all so much for sharing your comments on this video and sharing some items that I had no idea about. Hopefully, if you guys didn't as well, you'll let me know in the comments about which items you had no idea about. I've got a feeling the vampiric blood essence one, a lot of you are not going to know about. I just have a feeling. But anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, do leave a like on it. Do subscribe to the channel if you are new. As always, thank you very much to my channel members for the extra support you do provide me. Anyone else, if you're interested in joining the channel members, there's a join button by the subscribe button. You can get a few perks while you do that as well, and of course it is greatly appreciated. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.